How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been an emotional few days, but I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I've always been in similar shoes a few years ago with the movie making, and I would love to hear how everything's going with that. And then hopefully we can help promote the movie. We get more eyeballs and more money in the pot too.
All right. It's good. I really enjoyed Glenn being down and Ben Von Wong. When they came down, it was like family. I wish the campaign would have taken off a little stronger than it has, but we're still working on it.
Things, it's kind of like a marathon with sprints within it. I also looked at it like, and you probably are too, like it really is a gift that our families are given this opportunity to have this platform,
Yeah.
share our kids' stories. Why don't we start toward the beginning? Tell me about yourself and we'll kind of go from there. Like, where you're from. I know you mentioned it in the movie, getting the diagnosis with Kerry and
Mhm.
all that. That would be cool to like expand on that. So anyway, let's just start. Tell me about yourself, Kristen. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to
First
meet
time
you.
chat.
I'm from Florida, born and raised. I've never lived anywhere else. And so is my husband, Jericho. I'm an ultrasound tech at a couple local hospitals here. And my husband is a machine shop supervisor in Daytona. We live in Palm Coast. We have a nice home, nice neighborhood, nice neighbors. Our oldest daughter, Elise, she's 11. And then Veda's 4. Veda was 14 months old when I started notice that she wasn't developing quite right. Like she wasn't talking as well. And she also had increased thirst and increased urination, even though that's not one of the signs and symptoms of Sanfilippo. That was the initial thing that caught my eye. And I took her to her first pediatrician. He was like, "Oh, you don't have anything to worry about. She doesn't look like a diabetic child." He didn't order any kind of test for her. And because I work in healthcare, I was like, well, that's not cool. So I
Yeah, right.
I was like, all right, this is not going to get me anywhere. And so I reached out to another doctor and I asked his nurse, I was like, can you just give me a second opinion and tell me I'm not a lunatic? You can look at her and say she's fine. You can order a test. And then if I'm told she's okay, then I'll be okay. And I brought her in. She drank 2 cups of water right in front of the doctor. And he was like, yeah, it's not normal for a child her age to drink 24 ounces of fluid in a sitting. He ordered some testing for her. She didn't have diabetes. She didn't have diabetes insipidus. And it was just this really long year of us trying to figure out what was going on with her. Because when we were figuring that out, then she started with ear infections and upper respiratory infections, and she was like becoming super aggressive with us for no reason. She wasn't communicating with us. Took her to her kidney doctor, and her kidney doctor took a look at her and she was like, "Who does she look like?" And I was like, "Oh, Veda looks like her dad's twin." And she was like, "Okay, I still want Veda to go see genetics. Call them today because it will take a year to get in with." And so I
You
called UF Genetics, yeah, August of 2021. They said, okay, your appointment's for August 8th, 2022. And I literally thought nothing of it. I was like, okay, they just want to make sure she doesn't have anything genetic going on.
cross the T's, dot your I's.
Yeah. No worry at all. I was like, no, she's fine genetically. Maybe she's on the spectrum. And like me and Jericho were fully ready to jump into that world of having a child with autism. And so we started getting her into speech therapy. And it was June. I got home from a long night of work. I got on TikTok and just video that Carrie posted of Hayden. It was the initial one of her face. It wasn't Carrie first. Of Hayden. And I was like, oh my gosh, like she could be Veda's twin. She's so cute. And start hearing Carrie talk about Sanfilippo syndrome. And I was like, I've never heard of this before in my life. And I started looking it up on Google. In 20 minutes, I was convinced Veda. I was hyperventilating. And my mom had actually messaged me. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And she sent me a funny video. And I was like, I think Veda has Sanfilippo syndrome. She was like, what is Sanfilippo syndrome? And I sent her videos of Hayden. And she's like, no, 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 no. Veda does not have that. No, you're losing your mind. And because I had worked through the pandemic, I was suffering from depression. She was like, this is just you in your head. You need to be away from people that are dying all the time because it's taking a big toll on me. And she was like, stop looking at stuff on the internet. Me and Jericho went on vacation and we just kept looking at videos of Hayden and then Connor and Logan and Sadie. We were just trying to pick something out of all those things, saying, okay, that's that thing that she doesn't have, so she's okay. The more we looked into it, the more we were like, this is just hitting the nail in even
Yeah.
more.
How old was she when she got the diagnosis?
She was 2. She was about to be turning 3 in December. She got it diagnosed September 2022.
Then from there, tell me how things transpired and hooking up with the Cure Sanfilippo Foundation when you first met Carrie and Hayden.
So initially, after Veda got diagnosed, me and Jericho just kind of took that week to mourn. And then I got onto TikTok and Carrie had just posted a video. And I was like, hey, I just want to thank you for sharing Hayden because my daughter was just diagnosed last week because of her. Sorry. Carrie reached out to me immediately and she was like, your family now. This is my phone number. This is who to reach out to. She gave me her Sanfilippo Foundation information. Then I reached out to Glenn, and I think Glenn messaged me 3 hours later. He was like right on top of it too. He was like, hey, let's set up a Zoom meeting. Let's talk. Let's give you the information because as you know, when you go to the genetics doctor, they just give you a couple little pamphlets and they're like, here you go. Love your kid while you can. There's nothing you can do. Bye-bye. Have a good day. That's kind of how it is. So just that initial thrown into the community, it just felt like everybody was like giving us a big hug. This sucks, but we're here for you. And we get to meet all the families. Veda got diagnosed in September of 2022. And then October, they had Hayden's motorcycle run in Atlanta. And so we were like, hey, we live in Florida. Let's drive up there and tell them thank you in person. And that was a super emotional time because it's different when you're watching our kids on screen.
Yeah.
And then when you go see them and you're like, okay, this is what our future is going to look like. This is a reality. But I got to meet Hayden and Lily and Reagan and Maria, and it was just a really nice time that we really enjoyed getting to meet with them. And then from there, we've just continued together with Sanfilippo families. And then we even have a family that lives 20 minutes south of us. So we get together with them quite a bit.
So after that, when you guys started talking to Glenn, you guys are probably doing Zoom calls, your text messages, and gearing up for the launch date and all that kind of stuff. How did the whole idea come about? Like,
Glenn actually reached out to me and he was like, hey, I understand if you're not comfortable with being on camera, but we would like to, if you want to be a part of a campaign to raise funds for a clinical trial. And I was like, absolutely. That's all you have to say. And then he said that we would get every single bit of footage from our filming. And I was like, that's like everything in the world is to have somebody film us, our family, for 4 days, and we get to have all of that. It just was a no-brainer. I messaged Jericho and I was like, are you okay with this? And he was like, absolutely, let's do this. It's hard putting your vulnerable state out there for the world to see, but it's important for our kids and it's important for people to know that we're going to whatever we can for them. It's been a fun experience. It's been a little stressful, I won't lie, but we're going to keep on trucking. We're going to keep on pushing through and trying to get the funds through.
Day-to-day life where you guys are, what kind of support system do you have? How has your community supported and rallied to your side?
Our family lives here. My mom and her husband, my sister, and then my husband's brother lives close by. They make sure to help us with anything and everything. Like my mom's watching Veda for me right now. My brother-in-law makes sure to come over with his kids so we can create as many memories as possible. Even my neighbor across the street, she is an older lady. She is a respiratory therapist, retired. And she's like, I am here if you need anything. She wears her Pure Veda shirt all down the street, walking her dog. And since our story has been shared within our community, we just recently got a message from someone in the Jeep community that wants to have a Jeep parade and a fundraiser to help raise funds for the Saving Veda campaign. Our community is starting to rally around us for sure.
It's a really beautiful thing. I saw it happen in our community where once ignites, they perpetuate this campaign in itself. And hopefully that'll be similar with you guys, because it's just all these different dots coming together to just see the power of community love come together. And you don't really know where you're going to expect. People reach out sometimes who you never would have expected.
Yes.
It's like, whoa, I haven't seen this guy in like 30 years. He just donated, $1,000.
Yeah. And that's how it's been. I have people that I knew in high school that I wouldn't necessarily say were best friends, but you go to school with each other for 5-6 years and just know them. They're the people that are sharing it with their families and just advocating for your kid. And I'm like, hold on, wait a second. We barely know each other and you're ready to go to war with me for my kid. It's amazing. And just the guy that reached out to us today, the Jeep community wants to help us. It's crazy to think there's people out there that just really care and want to give back. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Humanity just opens up its door for you when something like this hits a fan. It's a really kind of cool thing. How's your other daughter doing and dealing with all the news, the craziness?
Elise, I think she's doing okay. She has her moments. For the most part, Elise and Veda act like typical siblings of she's hating me. She has the remote, but there are moments where it really hits her, and most of the time it's at night. Just like a quick story, there was one time she laid out this big blue blanket in our living room and she had all these sea life animals all around the living room, and she turned on fish and turtles swimming on the TV, and she turned our LED lights blue to make it look like the ocean in our living room. And she's like, "Come on, Veda, let's be mermaids." And she was laying on the blanket and they were laughing and playing. And then all of a sudden Elise just sits right up and she's like, "I don't want to do this anymore." And she goes to her room. And I was like, "Oh, well, like, what was that about?" And I call her out and I'm like, "Elise, honey, are you okay?" And then she just breaks down crying and she's like, "I don't want my sissy to die." Dealing with your child being terminally ill is such a horrible pain, but then also your other kid being sad and just not knowing why you can't save her sister.
Yeah.
It hurts.
I have a younger son too, Keenan. And I just feel like these kids feel like they're in a tough situation because they know their parents are grieving so much. So your worry is that they're holding back and maybe not talking about it as much as they're just looking out for your feelings. For us, a big thing, especially even with Keenan, younger, was just the way the school rallied around both of our kids because they were a couple of years apart, actually 1 grade apart. What are your kids doing for school? What are the ages right now?
Elise is 11 and Veda is 4. Elise's school has been her teachers have been really great. Check in on her and message me if they feel like she needs some extra attention. They also have a counselor at her school, and every Wednesday she goes and eats lunch with her and another child that has another situation at home. That way they can just kind of talk. And it's not even talking about her sister. It's talking about things that they like to do, things that make them happy. So it's just kind of giving them a little time to just be themselves. And if they feel sad, they can talk to the counselor about it. We also have a no homework rule. Elise does not bring homework home. We explained to her teachers that home is family time and she will not be doing any homework. And they were like, "We agree, that's okay. We're not going to send her home with anything to do." And Veda does VPK. So she gets therapy at school as well as outpatient therapy. So she's like, we're doubling down on it.
You said VPK? What does that stand for?
It's voluntary kindergarten, what they use down here in Florida. She has an IEP, a medical IEP. So I'm able to keep her out on days where she's not feeling it or when she has therapy. And they've been really great too. Teachers are kind of spoiling her a little bit. I told them to treat her like a typical kid for the most part, to let her get away with a little too much.
Yeah, I guess everyone's gonna give a little extra slack for those kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tell me a little about you and Jericho. How'd you get together? How'd you meet? How'd that story all unfold?
Our first time meeting was when I worked at Home Depot, but nothing came of that. And then we met online. We went out for a date. And then from there, we just kept going out on dates. Elise is actually not his biological child. So it took a while for me to introduce him to her. And they immediately clicked like this, and he just jumped into that dad role. I was in school for ultrasound, so I told him, "Look, I'm not getting married. I'm not having any kids right now. I want to concentrate on school and doing this." And he was like, "Okay." And then as soon as I was done with ultrasound school, he's like, "All right, can we get married now?" And then I was like,
Yeah.
"All right." He proposed to me at the Gulf of Mexico. And then we got married, and then he was like, "All right, can we have a baby now?" And I was like, "Okay, we can have a baby now." And then a couple months after our wedding, we got pregnant with Veda.
What's Jericho like?
So at first, if you meet him, he's initially very shy and he won't talk to people much. But once you get to know him, he'll talk your ear off. He is always having a project to do. He has a shed full of 3D printers, and he has built us a pool deck recently. He's always got something he's tinkering with or messing with. He's just an all around awesome, awesome husband and awesome dad. I couldn't have picked a better dad for our kids.
Oh, that's awesome. When did the movie come out?
Came
2
out
weeks ago or
last
something?
Thursday. So
Last
yeah,
Thursday.
it's just been 7
Yeah.
days.
So what's it like? I remember, it's kind of a little crazy because everyone wants to kind of reach out. Their friend is a columnist or whoever. Like, how's the whole is there been some kind of the newspaper articles, things like that?
It's been really great. A lot of family and friends have been sharing the news article and the video. And people within the community are like, "Hey, reach out to here and here." We've also been on a radio show, and that hasn't aired yet. It should air, I think, next weekend. It's been a whirlwind of things. I expected a little bit more of an outreach. We also have an interview with the Daytona Beach News Journal, which is a really big newspaper. But because it's bike week right now, they have to cover all the bike week stuff, and then they'll reach out to us. We feel kind of like it was released at this weird time. Rare Disease Day was the perfect day to release, but down here, so much is going on that we think it's kind of getting lost in the craziness of bike week and then spring break next week.
Yeah, and it's just going to be ups and downs, the lulls and the other stuff. I guess you just got to take it in stride. What did you have in mind? What are you guys planning in terms of fundraisers, things like that? Anything kind of cooking up in your community there or what?
So we have the Jeep parade with the fundraiser that the talked us about today. And tomorrow, me and my sister plan on going around with our signs to Bike Week again and walking down Main Street with our signs with our QR codes for the video and the GoFundMe. We would like to plan a couple booths throughout this year to just raise awareness. So we have quite a few festivals at our town center. We think that we'll just pay for the booth spot and just go out there and just spread the word about Sanfilippo syndrome. And even if it doesn't get donations, as long as we're getting the word out there, our kids have this. My husband's job is also trying to work on some stuff because they are so close to the Daytona Speedway, trying to do things for when there are events that they need parking for, that they can come park at his job and they can donate the funds from that parking. And then my job's also trying to plan a thing where they're going to come out and help with sign in the Palm Coast center of town. And, just we're trying to figure out what our niche is going to be. Like we're not really good fundraisers, but we're definitely trying.
Well, you know what? We're all just winging it the best we can, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's a lot of throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And nothing else. It really gives you an opportunity to just spread your wings, try new stuff, do something kind of scary because there's no downside to trying it. Nobody's going to
Yeah.
fault you for whatever, not succeeding at something that you're actually putting your whole family out there to share. How can we help? How can even this platform, the Sanfilippo Project, if there's anything you want to use this as a place to get the word out on stuff, you're certainly welcome to use that. In fact, we'd encourage you to. But yeah, any message you have for just we have supported you and other Sanfilippo families out there?
We just want to thank everybody that supports our family. Honestly, the best thing that any of our supporters and anybody watching this can do is just share Veda's video or share Saving Lives, share Saving Connor, share any of those, because no matter if it's 50 cents, $1, $100, it all adds up and it's all going to go to the right place because our kids, they need a clinical trial. Veda's at that plateau area that we're getting kind of scared. She's not going to get anything in time. So really time is of the essence. If everybody can just share and talk about it. That's all that's all we can ask for. People just share. Thanks, Mike.
It's all a teamwork thing, right? We're all like family.
It
We're all
is.
in this together.
Yeah, we are.
We're all happy to help and we're all pulling for you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you for being one of the ones that have been through this and reached out to me. You and Aaron have been super helpful. Aaron's been like, hey, you did it. You did your part. You put it out there.
You did your part. Exactly.
Now is everybody else's job. So
yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that too. Just pat yourselves on the back. What you're doing is so brave. It's not easy. And it's a life-changing thing. You're going through this process, but there's a lot of beauty in it, as you're probably seeing. And it's a real gift. And it's great to meet you. We get to meet each other soon too in person.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good day.
You too. See you, Christin. Bye.
Bye.